Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Okay. So, greetings. Today we're just gonna kind of go over what we're, hoping the next or the remainder of the semester will be with our new project. So we are going to be trying to build out a simple little social media platform using some backend framework, like Jorge mentioned, Django and MongoDB. Let's talk a little bit about those technologies. So Django is a framework that allows you to use Python in the back end, like you would PHP. So the thing about Python is that unlike PHP, which kind of has like, it was designed specifically for backend stuff. Python is a little bit more generic, so it needs to exist within a framework in order to use it on the web. And so along with Django, we're going to be using MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. It's the reason why we're choosing MongoDB has more to do with it being new for our members and not something that's talked about at all, NoSQL databases in our classes. But it's kind of similar, but not too similar. But we'll learn more about that as we start using it. Moving on from this, we have some terminologies that I would like to kind of just cover real quick. So front-end development. So front-end development relates to any kind of development work that pertains to things that are rendered by the client or the browser, right? It's mostly related to the presentation layer of a web application. Some notable frameworks or libraries that are front-end are React, Angular, Vue, things like that. The thing about the client is that typically the browser, and you should kind of like associate those two things, those two terms, client and browser, I guess. The browser doesn't really know any other language other than the three main basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So even when you're, with all these new frameworks and all these new technologies like, the precompiled CSS languages at Less and SAS and JSX, all that stuff. At the end of the day, they have to be compiled or more accurately transpiled into those basic, languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Other than that, so we have then backend development, which relates to any kind of development that relates to things that happen on the server, right? This is the kind of business or application logic that happens outside of the client or the browser. And kind of jobs of a backend, would be like database connection, processing of form data, sending emails or whatever, processing some kind of form data and then like sending it to an email server, so on and so forth. So I guess the way that the front end and the back end kind of communicate would be something with or HTTP requests. Like that's the kind of standard ways that servers and clients kind of communicate. I guess the most notable HTTP request methods are POST and GET. So an example of the GET method is when you have a client that makes a kind of request of a server for some kind of resource. For example, when you access or when you point your client or your browser to a URL, a GET request is made for things like the static files, HCSS, images, all that stuff. An example of a POST request, which is HTTP request method used to send data to a server would be like filling out a form and then having that form data be sent, using the post method to the server for further processing. Anyway, just some things to note, terminologies. Kind of just like associate front end with client, back end with server side scripting, or server side in general. Anyway, so this is what we will try to be.
Just a second. I see someone has their hand raised. Jorge.
Yes.
What?
Wait, there's something, if you could go to the slide before.
Yes.
So, you have database connection and form processing under backend, but it could be done in the front end as well. By any chance, would you want to just mention maybe why it's better to do it in the back end?
I think it's probably best to do it in the back end because of security reasons. I mean, I know you can access database uses like API information using, I don't know, Axios or the Fetch API or Ajax, but I think it's probably best as a back end thing for security. What do you think about that?
No, that's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it was client side, then any user can tamper with the data that actually makes it to the database,
right,
without bypassing any sort of validation.
Right, and just like keep note that the client means it's on your browser, right? So it's something that you have access to, like all the stuff that's on the client. You can manipulate that data pretty easily. So anyway, that's it. So yeah, this is like kind of an example of what we're going to be working towards making. Tweeter, we're going to be providing anybody who's interested in following along with us with some basic templates that aren't exactly like this, but you're encouraged to kind of, be creative and do whatever you want with the logo and some other stuff, CSS styling. But yeah, we're going to be kind of working towards these examples. Something like a Twitter app. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? More questions? If not, then I'll just I guess it's, okay. I can't see your questions, so somebody's going to have to read them.
Bao said, how does it work? How does it work?
How does what work?
How are we gonna put it all together, I guess? Is that what you're asking, Bao?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what the, I guess the subsequent meetings will be about, actually getting everything set up. The next meeting will be setting up a Django project, and then learning how to kind of make different pages, and we'll get more into that next meeting and in the following meetings. But I think, yeah, we're going to be providing you with some static HTML and CSS stuff that you will kind of work along with us if you want. Yeah. So I guess moving on, because I don't have any more slides after this. I actually meant to make another one, but didn't. So I guess I'll just list off some things that I want you to download or set up. Let me stop sharing. Yeah, so that's the end of the slideshow. I just want to talk about the things that I would kind of want you to have installed or set up before Friday. And that would be so set up an account with Atlas for the MongoDB. They have a cloud-based solution for the database thing that we're going to use. You had a question.
Oh, so do you have the link now, or will we post it after the meeting?
I mean, I'll post it after, but I'll just put the link still. Is that okay? Yeah, so go to that link, set up an account. It's free for our purposes. And this is we're going to use the cloud solution to connect to our Django app we're creating. Along with that, I would like for you to, I hope you all do, but have Python 3 installed. We all have Python installed. I assume that this is something we have.
So just Python and create the MongoDB account?
Yeah, that's all I kind of really want everybody to have by Friday.
And what are some of the things that we're going to be doing? Well, what are we implementing, or what are we doing with the social media like platform or website?
So we will be kind of just replicating the make a tweet feature, or whatever. Liking, hopefully we'll get to that. I know that there's a block feature that was put in the mockups. We might get to that as well. But yeah, definitely like tweet, see people's feeds, your feed. You'll have like a dashboard, you'll have a login, you'll have a log out, all that kind of stuff.
And what role does the database play in like a social media platform? Like what are we doing with the database?
Okay, so the role the database will play is in storing user information, like username, email, password, stuff like that, and the tweets. They're called tweets, right? Yeah. So the Django backend will handle a lot of the logic involved in everything, and that the database basically just stores all the information from the users and their tweets and all that.
Well, and at least for everybody that's here, does everybody know? Has everybody played with PHP or kind of know its role?
I don't know.
That's a no.
Okay. Well, the thing that PHP does is it handles. Well, I guess I just went over it a little bit, but it handles the kind of processing of like form data and kind of like form validation. It can do that. Sending information to a database. I mean, this is the best way to handle that, I think. Does that make sense? Like the front end, the HTML and the CSS and JavaScript, right? I mean, do you know what those languages do, Val?
It's from web development or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I changed my career, so I didn't know much about CSS and HTML
okay.
anymore.
So when you go to a website, all the stuff that you see,
Yeah.
it's a bunch. It's HTML and CSS, and like for interactivity and whatever, JavaScript. That gives you a little bit more of the, I don't know, the interactive, like, I don't know. But yeah, that's what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They give you the presentation of a website, the way that things are laid out. The way things
So does Python also want with CSS something?
No, Python is a kind of generic programming scripting language, and in the context of web development, you have to use it in a framework that allows you to run the Python code on a server, so that you can handle like more logic on the server and like do more of that backend stuff, like processing information from a form, sending it to, a mail server, so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's a lot of technical things.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
like how long we can, become like a web developer? Like, how many years does it take?
oh, I don't know that question. I don't know the answer to that question. As long as it takes, that's my answer. People are different. I guess it depends on
Yeah.
who you are and how interested. But hopefully, a lot of these concepts will be presented in a way that's easily understood. That's my goal, anyway. Our goal.
Yeah. So try your best. You can do it.
Yes. Yes, we will try our best. And if you have any questions, just like at the officers, whatever. I'm here. Or his here.
Let's see. So
I'm sorry?
you guys were working on social media, right?
Yeah, creating a kind of basic social media platform, just to kind of get familiar with some of these, just the technologies involved, some concepts involved in making something like this.
Oh. Okay. Anyways, it's good to know.
Yeah, it should be fun. Okay, you think we'll have fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you?
I think so. Okay, so does everybody know what they need to have ready for Friday? When we actually start.
Wait, repeat the question?
Does everybody know what we need to, or what you need to have installed or set up for Friday? Do I need to go over that again?
Python is pretty self-explanatory, but is there anything special about the registration? Like, what? So why are we registering? So I know we're using MongoDB as a database, but what's happening with Cloud and Atlas?
I think it's kind of like how we had to register to use Firebase a year ago. So in order to use Atlas, I think you have to register for it, right, Bobby?
Could you repeat the question? Why do we have to?
What is Atlas?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
What is Atlas?
Oh, Atlas is like MongoDB's like cloud-based solution. So you don't have to like create a local database, a local Mongo database. So one thing about Django is it actually comes pre-built with a lot of functionality right out of the box, including an SQL database that you just have access like immediately. We're just not using it because we want to do different things. I don't know. Because Mongo's interesting and it's not taught in school. No SQL databases, so we're just using it instead.
Okay, I have a question. I registered on the link for the Atlas thing, and now I have to create a starter cluster. We're gonna go over that later.
Yeah, we're gonna go over that later. If you want to.
Oh, okay.
So Django, like I just said, has a lot of stuff built in. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to answer. If you have to do a lot of things the Django way, what people say when you're developing Django app. They're very strict on exactly how you have to structure everything. But that overhead kind of helps you not have to think about some stuff, where Flask allows you a lot of freedom to kind of structure things. Also, it's not as clunky, or I'm sorry, chunky, or it's not as big as Flask applications. It can kind of be as small as you need it to be, or as big as you need it to be. Whereas Django is just kind of like a big semi-truck of stuff. So I don't know if that question is good. Like, it's more just a matter of like use case. Like, if you're anticipating your application to be like a big thing, probably Django is best.
Wait, and are you aware of Flask? Have you used it before?
Yeah, what I know about the Flask, I think like Chris was with the React app that we did last summer. So that is all the exposure that I have. I'm not gonna say knowledge because I don't remember much. I'm gonna be honest. But I think this is a different like a different tool that people are asking on job postings. That's why we chose almost all of these technologies. It was because we like looked through a couple of job posting rate, and we saw what they were being asked, and we tried to like accommodate that so we can learn what is actually being asked outside of school.
All right. Well, if no further questions, then I'd say I guess we can start wrapping up the meeting, and then probably post whatever resources or links you want the rest of the members that didn't show up to go register for and stuff, and the resources on Discord.
Just a question: do you guys recommend any like for the actually coding? So Notepad++, VS Code, VS.
I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code.
And I think if you don't have any more questions or anything else that we need to talk about right now, we are gonna make the post on Discord as soon as possible, and that's it.
Yeah.
Any ideas, comments, or questions anyone asks, you guys can add any of us or add the officers that we're all gonna see it, and we're all gonna reply to you. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the recording right now.